Yet, computer studies saw me make the first mistake. It was a reflexive thing. I wrote down the date with the wrong year, which was XZZW. No, Y, it's Y. I had to strike it through so that one could recognize it. Also, I realized my writing has changed. Now, when I started to write, my writing looked quite different. I tried to work it out somehow. And then it came to me. My signature. I had a completely different signature now. I have to check it when I get home. And while the teachers were explaining, I recalled the first conversations I had with my classmates and tried to adapt on the vocabulary of this time. I could not rest. Not for a minute. After computer studies, which we had in a special classroom, we returned back to our home classroom for the rest of the day. I tried to act very reserved and calmly. I was different now. I guess when I fantasized about going back, I thought of how I would act differently and how girls would find me attractive because of that. The kind of experienced person or so I hoped. Or whatever I needed to do, because I wasn't all too popular with the girls in high school. And I wanted to be just a little more known. Just one or two signs from the girls that I mattered to them. That maybe one of her will like me. Things went my way that day, because our class teacher held a class lesson after their scheduled classes were over. Among some technical details and instructions, we had to announce what elective classes we wanted to take in addition to our normal timetable. You could choose sports, philosophy or science. I remember choosing sports in my days, but when the teacher called my name, I said philosophy. I don't know just why I did it. I was most probably just trying to show off. I wanted to demonstrate that I was not influenced by my friend's decision. I looked at some of the boys with the expression showing something like they had to live with it. It wasn't that bad. The teacher then took care of some more administrative details before we were finally released home. As usual, I went home with Mori. Kumi, the girl who was sitting right in front of my desk, joined us together with Tomomi, another girl from my class. But soon, Tomomi and Mori went the other way, because they had to take a different bus at a different bus stop. We said bye and I was left with Kumi. The bus arrived as scheduled. We talked a bit in the bus about the usual things. Although I felt there was something strange about the conversation we had. I did not quite understand what it was. It was only later that I found out it was one of the things I did not think about when fantasizing about coming back to my school days. I then got off the bus and continued home. When I got home, my head was overloaded. There was so much to think about. The quantity of all the new experiences left almost no space for the terrible feelings I had yesterday, and although I knew that sooner or later they would come back, I wanted to bury myself into this new world, to make them appear at the latest possible date. The later the less intensive they would be for me. I started to go around in my room, thinking hard. I had to make sure not to forget my homework. But then again, we always copied the homework from each other at the start of the lessons. Somehow, however, that felt irresponsible. And yes, that was my first day at Mizumi Grounds, that was the name of our school. When my parents came home, I already knew the basics of how to behave. From day to day, I would get more and more used to their presence and act more and more naturally. Checklist. On Wednesday, I tried to spend some time doing a checklist of what to do and what not to forget. It has been 2 days and I was far from able to blend in. I somehow managed, but I had to get used to the positions of the light switches in my parents' home, to name one example. Even when I bought bus tickets, I now knew the right price. Yesterday I had much more money prepared, because the prices have really gone up, like people could not even imagine. I had to get the monthly bus pass, and I made a note to ask for the student's discount form. It was fair to say I was overwhelmed. When riding the bus, I noticed the face of the city. The fun park on the other side of the river was not there. There were going to be new bus lines and routes. And also I wanted to go and look where I lived. I lived in this same city, but my own apartment was somewhere else. I wanted to see it when I have the chance. Was that normal? I didn't know. When I looked at my admittedly terrible looking face in the evening, I couldn't help to smile. Sure, that was my reddish teenage face, but at least I didn't have to shave yet. I hated this. Really? Then don't shave. What for? But at this age, there still was not too much to shave. One less morning activity for me. And a pleasant loss at that. Wait, you're in high school. Damn, I had to shave in high school already. Lucky bastard. That evening I finally cried. That was a huge relief for me, as I could let all my frustrations go with tears. I just let it all overwhelm me and didn't fight it. I felt that gaping emptiness, nowhere to go, nothing held on to. I was so scared, realizing I was on my own with this. I don't even remember when I fell asleep, exhausted from the fear, insecurity of being in a completely different world and all the helplessness. I put a pen and a paper beside my bed, so whenever something hit me when I was in bed, I could... sorry. That was a long night of writing a project, so... well... let's continue. I got up and noted it down so I wouldn't forget. It was stressful enough and any help was good. My checklist and notes were my only save point. The Redux. It has happened to me. And I knew now that for all the good things that will come my way, for all the possibilities, there will always be other things. When I get over this, when I finally accept what has happened, there will be things I won't be able to influence. Things like clothes. Yeah, it was surprising how I didn't think about that. I had to wear those ridiculous clothes now. Sure, they were okay now, but I really didn't like them and wanted my own t-shirts and shoes. But nothing could be done. And I guess when everyone was dressed like that, maybe that was normal. Oh, you mean uniforms at schools? We didn't have them. And, well, actually I would like them. I mean those uniforms, at least those that are in Japan, looks kinda great. For me at least. That's just my opinion. Whatever. Let's continue. I had to get used to it. Also my parents still had the old fridge, which was not good at all, and I missed a real mirror in the bathroom, which they were going to buy a few years later. Still, I was happy to see my favorite mug still intact. I would break it one day or not. If I get good care of it, I don't have to break it, right? I just need to watch it when I dry it. Which was when I broke it that one time. On first day at school, I noticed Ryosuke and Jun. They didn't know it yet, but they were going to be a couple 2 years after high school. It was so strange seeing the two of them, just as friends. About the lessons, we already had a stable timetable, every day 6 lessons. Everyone would of course have liked to have less lessons on Friday, but that was just the way it was. Probably the best was Tuesday, when we had the list of the hard subjects, although that was a matter of taste. I sat beside Mori in the classroom. In the aisle in front of me was Yoshiko. I had Nami behind me and Hitoshi in front of me. It was hard for me to talk to him now, because he would do probably a terrible thing to me in the future. I didn't know how to act really. When I saw him being so cheerful as he always was, I instantly forgot all about it. Besides, that was the future, and I could prevent it. Or make arrangements so that, when he does it, it will hurt him as well. In the afternoon, I finally got the form for the bus pass. It was great because now I had student discounts. Again, a thing that I have long ago forgotten, as I was not eligible to have any at my age anymore. When walking home that day, I thought about what to make from the information that I knew my grandparents will die in 6 years. I could not prevent it, obviously. Some things really got to me, because I never thought about them. I have already accepted this reality, and the possibility that my state is not reversible. Still, I fought with several depressing thoughts by keeping in mind that this was what I dreamed of. The second chance. It really was true. I could do whatever I wanted to. The reason is Miori. Alright, on Saturday there was a big welcome party for the first years in our school. As usual, the 4th graders prepared it, but normally anyone could get in. I was quite determined to go there because I wanted to relive it again. It was at that party that I first noticed Miori. Alright, so if there are choices in the game, I have to remember the name, I guess. So, to remember it, I will note it down. Miori. Alrighty. I remember her being so beautiful. Well, she's nice. To me, really, because she was not the beauty type. But there was something about her that I just loved. Her face, all the little details I noticed about her. And her shoes, really shoes. She wore those funny boy shoes. It was unbelievable just how beautiful she was to me. Miori was in all respects the most beautiful girl I have ever seen. It may well have been that I would have gotten to know her better. She would be not as absolute for me, but I never have. All my affections towards Miori were kept perfect by the fact that I knew too little and had to think and dream what she would or could be like. Miori, if there ever was anything, any reason, it had to be her. It wasn't the possibilities of getting rich, of preventing tragedies or being helpful. It was all about the time at Misery Grounds, the time when she was all I thought about. In all my dreams, I have reconstructed all the situations involving Miori. There was so much I could have done, so many things that I didn't do right. That's why I dreamed, and that was what kept me dreaming for so long. In all those dreams, I did the right things now. I said what I wanted to say, and it really was great. That is how it should have been, and here I was, now. What I did next was not because I wanted to make an impression on Miori, it was for me. In fact, it was also on my checklist that I have made and expanded, sorted and managed. Friday, when my parents got home, I went shopping with my mother. It was a little strange because she was used to buy things for me that applied also to clothes. A little shock for her, I admit, but I still insisted that I wanted to change my look a little and we went shopping. Since I really needed new things, I did not burden the family budget that much. I picked 3 nice clothes. Mother was surprised to see me actually have a certain vision on my mind. As we talked during our shopping time, I assured her that this initiative of mine is really mine. When we were finished, we went home. However, I think I should have known it all by then. The horror would eventually come back. Maybe I did not have time to dwell in the terrible experience that I have found myself in a different environment. Maybe I underestimated the power of my subconsciousness. I knew I was able to withstand it a pretty long time. By the end of my first week, I have wondered that nothing has happened to me yet. I forced myself not to think about my situation and focused only on the things ahead. But it had to come. Friday night, I stayed up late. My parents were already asleep and I just finished my late night room cleanup. Everything was clean and I took a shower to get me to bed. I managed to get out of the shower, into my room. I was almost ready to sleep. Somehow, I don't know why I look at my bookcase longer. I look at the wood it was made of. My mind then went to a break, I suppose. It is a normal state when your mind goes absent for a while, and usually someone standing around you notices you looking blankly at an object. I looked at the wooden bookcase, and then I felt it come. It felt terrible. It is very hard to describe, but the closest it came to a certain emptiness. My mind had no point to hold on to. I felt I would have to be indifferent toward everything, nothing really mattered. This was horrible. It was as if nothing had changed. I thought about it a little. I was now not afraid anymore. I was examining my feelings. I needed to do that. And so I did. I was looking for answers. To explain this to myself. Not how, but why. I tried to find reasons why it makes sense. Why it is a thing that is a part of me now. Admittedly, my reasonings were truly useless at first. But with time I was going able to defeat those negative consequences. I believed in myself. Who else could do it if not me? I may have been a failure in many areas, but this was not one of them. I know how to handle this. I have managed it in my previous life, the emptiness being detached, and there's no way I will not be able to manage it now. My only concern now is the attention to a phenomenon I will probably have to cope with despite everything. My whole environment changed. I just hope I could handle when some strange aftershocks of my mind will come to attack my mind. I knew I still had much residues in terms of certain rules and laws. In short, I have developed an image my world, and being thrown into another could mean my brain would need time to adapt it, even came as far as to accept it. I was a little afraid of the subconsciousness of my brain. I hope it would not turn against me. It is not easy to completely change everything one has learned in his life. So to say, reteach your brain many of the basics. This made perfect sense to me, and I was glad I realized it.